AI is going to change the world, and I want to give you an individual grip on how it's evolving with your own unique skills. So we're going to be developing a personalized benchmark, which you can use to judge the progress of AI. It will give you a sense of how AI is progressing and what the limitations are. We'll talk about this in increasing levels of complexity, but the core idea is just to ask an AI model to perform an action that would impress you. What would an AI need to do to impress you and make you think it's reached a new level? It's worth trying this right now if you have an idea and seeing if the model can do it. It might actually pass your initial test already. One example I liked is that someone on the internet kept asking ChatGPT to make the snake game, that classic game of the snake where it eats those little pellets and grows longer and longer. And eventually, ChatGPT 4 coded the entire snake game in the browser in under 5 minutes. Ideally, you would create a test in which you have some domain knowledge, some expertise. So AI models can sound very convincing, but it's trained to. It will hallucinate often. If you don't know the area, you can be easily confused without further inspection. So I've asked some friends about this because it's just anyone, whatever your domain of expertise, what's the kind of question? So one who is a software engineer said they would be impressed if an AI model could architect a solution for a software product. So not just produce code, but design the entire project. That's still kind of tough to do right now. I asked my friend who's a personal trainer, and he thought a good test would be for an AI model to create a graphic displaying how to perform the barbell clean and jerk. He thought the text would be too easy, so he wanted a graphic. And the move is highly technical and has a lot of fine points. So the snake game is great, but that's also likely in the training set. It's somewhere on the internet, right? Lots of snake games have been coded. To really test AI models, another level of criteria, I would recommend asking something you don't think it's seen online. This could be something recent, that's new. It's still cool to test its memory, but we would expect machines to memorize. So speaking of testing the models on out-of-distribution examples, that's something that's not in its memory, I was going to say I'll start freaking out when one of these models beats the ArcAGI benchmark developed by Francois Chollet and his team, and that already happened. My mind was blown. Like, while I was making this video, I thought that would be a great test, and it passed, and time to freak out, I think. Some points about this, though, is that the test for ArcAGI is pretty easy for humans, but very difficult for AI, and there's already some great videos breaking this benchmark down, so I'd say check those out. And the team is already working on new benchmarks, ArcAGI 2, and there was a really interesting definition from Chollet about measuring AGI and knowing when we cross that threshold. He said, "You'll know AGI is here when the exercise of creating tasks that are easy for regular humans, but hard for AI, becomes simply impossible." So I think that's an interesting definition, and I'll be looking out for that too. But it's interesting to see what it got wrong too. So here's an example flashing on screen. You can pause to get an intuitive sense of what's going on. So, pause and try to figure it out if you'd like to. But to me, this one's really interesting because it looks like the figures are in motion. To me, it looks like a creature is stretching out its limb and then dragging forward and pulling itself in that direction. But it's interesting that, why can't the model reason about this just yet? So probably coming up in the near future. But getting back to the other benchmarks, I have my own benchmarks and other little things that I've been asking the models to do. I'm a little deeper into the field and I have some more domain knowledge, so there's some different things that I'm looking for with my benchmarks. But the field of AI is made up of several subfields. It's reasoning, knowledge representation, planning, learning, natural language processing, perception, and robotics. So I'm really looking for the whole package, but that could be a bit far away. So I play around with the models and I'm regularly impressed. I like to learn new weird things, different sets of skills and things like that. And so I like it with a skill tree. It's like you reach a new level, you've unlocked a skill, and that leads to the next skill, and it leads to the next. So I kind of want the AI models to chart a path for me, and it's like setting achievements and other things like this. But for example, I've asked it to create a lesson plan to learn how to play the kalimba instrument. It's a strange instrument that isn't common and doesn't have much resources to learn. So what's a lesson plan to learn? And I've asked AI models to provide a method to help me memorize songs, but okay, I've broken one of my rules in that I don't know this area very well, like music education. I don't know that, but I want to learn. And so I can't be quickly sure it's giving me good advice, but these are just one of the tests I've been looking for. And something I really am testing here too is it modeling my ignorance? Because does the AI model know any idea of my current skill? Like if I'm coming from piano and I want to learn to play the kalimba, it would be a very different approach versus if I have no musical knowledge or background whatsoever. I'm really looking for these models to ask clarifying questions, which would show that it has a search tree and realizes that there's information gain in asking users questions. So that's something that I'm keeping my eyes open to. And developing a good skill tree with progressive levels is interesting too, because it would need to know which parts of the skills are difficult and which come before the other. This would take some reasoning, planning, common sense, and knowing how people learn. I'm also looking for its world model. Like, does it understand how the world works? So when you develop your tests, another element to this is prompt engineering. And you may think AI fails at your task, but you might not be asking it in the right way. One way to bootstrap this easily is before you ask your question, describe your question, then ask the AI model to develop an optimized prompt, then feed that into the model. So really you can ask it to do prompt engineering for you to your question. So in summary, if you have a personal test for AI, you can ask any new model or other models your question and quickly gain a sense of its capability. Criteria are actions that would impress you, that the AI models haven't been explicitly trained on, and consider optimizing your prompt for your test. So what test are you thinking of? Have you already had a test in mind, and have you been using it on the models? Please leave it in the comments below. When did AI impress you? I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on that. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share.